my wedding day. Supposed to be the happiest day of my life, right? Instead, it became the day my sister-in-law, Kylie, decided to detonate her own life, right there in front of God, my new wife, and 100 bewildered guests. I'm 28, an architect, and my wife, who's 25, is an urban planner. We'd been together for years, and our wedding was the culmination of all that. But before we get to the fireworks, you gotta understand how we even got here. It's a long story, but it's mostly about Kylie and her special brand of crazy. My whole life, it felt like I was the afterthought. My parents were Asian immigrants, big on academics. My older brother, Jack, was 3 years older than me. He was into sports and chess, which my parents saw as a waste of time. They'd tell him to focus on studies, push him, compare him to me. I was the golden child, apparently. Always got the top grades, always working on homework. They'd reward me for it: big birthday parties, sleepovers, better presents. Jack? They'd tell him they were ashamed of his marks, refused to spend money on his birthdays, tell him he needed to earn a party. Even now, thinking about it, I can see how that messed him up. He's told me stories, broken down in front of me, about how they always treated me better. I mean, I enjoyed the attention, who wouldn't? But I also saw how it ate at him. I disrespected him, put him down, made fun of his grades. I thought he was a loser, plain and simple. That disrespect? It never really went away. When college came around, my parents laid it out. They couldn't afford both our tuitions. I got the free ride, Jack had to figure it out himself, scholarships or loans. He blew up. Massive fight. He screamed about how they'd always treated him, why they even had him if they didn't like him. My parents hit back with the usual sacrifices for our children line. I chimed in, told him he wasn't the intelligent one, so he needed to suck it up and sacrifice for my sake. Called him a loser and other things. After that, Jack was done. He got into computer science with scholarships, moved out, and went low contact. My parents never even saw him off. It's heartbreaking to think about, but at the time, I just thought he was being dramatic. Over the years, they talked sometimes, but Jack kept it short. When he graduated cum laude, my parents wanted to show up. He told them no. They cried, played the victim, said they were his parents. He reminded them about how they didn't pay for his tuition, so they weren't part of his achievements. They fought, but they stayed away. That's how it was with us for a long time. My wife's an architect, and she's got a master's in urban planning from a top university. Her parents are professors, easy on her, no comparisons. She's an only child, so she got all their attention and support. They encouraged her to study what she liked, have hobbies. She had it good. Jack met her when they worked in the same office complex. He was on the 2nd floor, she was on the 7th. They'd run into each other in elevators, hung out with mutual friends. They hit it off. Jack, this guy who seemed so distant from us, was apparently charming, sweet, genuinely kind. He'd bring her flowers every month, her favorite cheesecake when she had cramps without even asking, cooked for her, told her he loved her. My wife's a sucker for romance, so it didn't take long before she moved in with him. Made sense, they were always at each other's places anyway. She says he's an OCD clean freak, completely opposite of the horror stories her girlfriends tell about their boyfriends not helping around the house. They split chores, cook/clean, laundry/fold. It worked for them. When Jack decided to introduce her to our parents, he told her about being low contact for so long, how they never treated him well, all the childhood stories. But when he actually reached out, my parents were ecstatic. Set up a lunch date immediately. My wife was nervous, but she wanted to impress them. And she did. My parents were surprisingly warm. Once they heard about her academic background, they became even more polite. My wife didn't mind, she wanted to impress them anyway. My parents were frank with her, told her how they'd been thinking about how they treated Jack after he went low contact, how they needed to be better. They were grateful she came into his life, said he might never have reached out otherwise. They even awkwardly apologized to him. Jack was surprised. It was a good start. Then I showed up. Jack wasn't even told I was coming. He was pissed. My parents started justifying it, saying it was time to let go of the past, move on. My mother said I was there because I was happy for him. I gave my wife a polite hug, acting all shy. I ignored Jack completely, like he didn't exist. Didn't say a single thing to him. But when my parents started bragging about my wife's academic background, my behavior changed. I started questioning her about her university, then subtly mocked urban planners for affecting the environment. I even asked her how she felt about murdering trees. She was shocked. I wanted to put her down, right there in front of my parents, because they liked her. I couldn't handle it. Throughout lunch, I was passive-aggressive, disagreeing with everything she said. When we were done, my father wanted to pay, but Jack insisted on taking care of it. I interrupted, said my wife should pay since we were all there because of her. Taunted her, said since she was earning so much, she could make good use of her money. She was offended. My parents noticed, immediately reprimanded me. My father told me I was rude, she was a guest. My mother agreed, told me to shut my mouth. I didn't like that. I got up, pissed, and walked out. Jack's parents apologized to her multiple times, told her I took time to warm up to strangers. She let it go, thinking she wouldn't have to deal with me anyway. My first red flag, apparently. My wife's family, on the other hand, adored Jack. Loved getting to know him. Her parents were happy they were living together, checked on her regularly. Over the years, I noticed something else. I always viewed her stories on social media. She had a public account for her designs, professional achievements. Only 1,000 followers, so it was easy to see when I viewed her stories every day. But I never interacted, never followed her. When Jack's parents started meeting with them more often, my obsession with my wife grew stronger. We had a family message group with me, Jack, and our parents. Mostly inactive, unless we met up and clicked pictures, then we'd send them in the group. I never showed up anymore after that first lunch. But I saw all the pictures. It probably upset me. One day, I sent a Facebook link to the group, asking my wife if it was her. It was a photo from years ago, with her high school boyfriend, hugging. He'd uploaded it when they were dating. She'd completely forgotten about it. I don't know how I found it or why I even sent it, but I did. She wasn't shy about it, told me it was her, an old boyfriend. I immediately replied that she seemed awfully close, and she should ask her ex to remove it, it wasn't appropriate. She was taken aback by how ridiculous I sounded. I'd stalked her, found her ex-boyfriend's page, sent the link, and then blamed her. Jack, who'd probably been reading the messages, replied that it was a completely normal picture, he had no issues with it. I replied back, passive-aggressively, that he should date someone with better standards. My wife was furious, said she would have ripped my hair out if I was in front of her. Jack messaged back that he did have better standards, since she earned 4 times my salary. That must have stung. I worked as a graphic designer, and my parents had mentioned I didn't earn enough to even move out. I immediately exited the group in anger, then called Jack, screaming and crying that he had no right to insult me, that I was done with him. Jack didn't care, which made me even angrier. My parents called my wife that evening, apologized to her. Said they'd talk to me, that I would be better. Apologized for me, said they had no issues with the picture. It was awkward, but she was glad they weren't like me. After that, I stayed away. Never joined the group, never bothered them. A few months later, we found out I'd eloped. Got married in Vegas to some guy. My parents were shocked, pissed. Didn't know who he was, weren't invited. Turns out, I'd been dating an older guy, Isaac, 13 years older than me, for quite some time. We met at work when Isaac was still married. Our affair led to his wife divorcing him. When their divorce was finalized, I eloped with him because I knew my parents would never allow me to marry an older divorcee or forgive me for having an affair with a married man. I'd kept all of this from them for several years. Never even told them about any of this. Jack and my wife only found out about Isaac's history when they stalked him on LinkedIn and Instagram. Apart from the affair, they were happy for me, hoping I'd turn over a new leaf. They didn't contact me. A few weeks later, my wife got a text from me, unexpected. It went something like this. I know in the past I haven't been nice to you and I would like to apologize. I have to admit that I didn't fully accept you as my family before, but now I've gotten past the prejudice I had against you and would like to get to know you better. I would like to have dinner with you and Jack this weekend. Let me know if you both are available. My wife showed it to Jack. He was wary, but she thought it might be a chance to work things out, since I was extending an olive branch. She convinced him to go. She let me know they were coming, and I seemed happy. When they met me, I warmly welcomed them into my new place with Isaac. Isaac was clearly wealthy, much older than all of us. Modern home, lots of gadgets. Isaac, after introducing himself, showed Jack around, got to know him. Isaac apparently had a dedicated shelf for all his collectibles. While the men were busy, my wife and I got to talking. I apologized to her for my behavior, said after marrying Isaac, I'd changed. She politely smiled, said it was water under the bridge. Then I went on to explain why I hated her. Told her she changed Jack, he seemed more confident and happier after meeting her. She pointed out that was a good thing. But I said how my brother had been low contact for so long, only reached out because of her. I felt jealous she could make him do such a thing. What I told her didn't make any sense to her, but she simply nodded, wanting to get it over with. Then I started talking about how much happier I was now, so I could finally let go of my jealousy. Talked about how rich Isaac was, how I never had to work again. Brought up his various assets, how many cars he had, even though she never asked. Then I asked her how her work was going. She told me about her recent promotion, how fulfilling her work was. She loves designing, so sometimes she rambles on. I immediately changed the subject, started asking invasive questions, like when she would marry my brother. She told me they'd discussed it, but they were in no hurry, things happen at the right time. I scoffed, said that was BS, she needed to push Jack to propose so she didn't get too old to have children. This made her laugh. She told me she and Jack never wanted kids, and they were fine with how their relationship was going. My eyes widened in shock. I started to say how as a woman it was our duty to give birth, even asked her why she was with Jack if she didn't want to give him children. She felt irritated by my invasiveness, told me her brother and she were adults enough to decide what they wanted. Then I got pissed, started yelling for Jack. When Jack and Isaac came running in, while she sat shocked, I demanded Jack tell her if he had any idea about the type of woman he was marrying, since she had no interest in continuing his bloodline. Jack laughed, just like she had. Asked me if I realized how ridiculous I sounded. I got angrier, raised my voice, said I was going to tell our parents, and they would never allow him to marry her. Jack yelled back that no one could stop him from marrying her if he wanted to, and because of my narcissistic and controlling behavior, he never wanted to get back in touch with me. They were getting heated. My wife asked Jack if they could leave, and he agreed. Isaac apologized repeatedly while I stood there glaring at my wife. Later, in the car, she burst out crying. Asked Jack seriously if he wanted children. He assured her he never wanted one, and she shouldn't let my backward thinking mess with her head. Assured her if he wanted anything different, he wouldn't be with her. She felt a bit better after that. I don't know if I ever did talk to our parents about what she told me, but thankfully they never reached out. Jack's parents continued to meet with them, never brought it up. After this incident, my wife blocked me from all her social media. She was truly done. This year, Jack proposed to her at their favorite date spot. They've been busy with wedding preparations. Our parents are happy, congratulated them. I found out from my parents and sent Jack a text. I hope you know what you're doing. Pissed him off. My wife felt sad I still held a grudge. Now, this is where things got even more complicated. 2 months back, Jack had a headache, wasn't feeling good. My wife ordered delivery, decided to cook his favorite dish. Realized they were short on ingredients. Went to the grocery store. First one didn't have everything, so she drove around, found another store. As she walked through the shopping complex, she passed a cafe. Spotted me, cozying up with some guy. At first, she thought it was Isaac. But after a second look, the guy was closer to my aged brown hair. They were holding hands, sharing kisses, giggling like teenagers. This was a shocker. As far as she knew, I was still married to Isaac. If we'd broken up, Jack's parents would have told them. In disbelief, she took pictures. I never even noticed her, too busy with the guy. Later, when she came home, her hands were shaking. Jack knew something was wrong. She spilled everything. He was taken aback, asked her 2-3 times if she was sure. She nodded, showed him the pictures. He looked closely, agreed it wasn't Isaac. They debated about it, but she didn't know if telling Isaac was a good idea, didn't want me to fight with Jack again. He assured her he'd be careful, talk to Isaac man to man. Said Isaac, as my husband, deserved to know. That weekend, Jack talked to Isaac privately. Turns out Isaac was shocked to find out I'd been cheating on him with a younger guy. But even more shocking, I was pregnant. Yes, pregnant. Apparently, we just found out, and I'd been keeping it on the down low, waiting for the right time to announce it. Isaac was floored I could do something like this to him. Thankful to Jack for telling him. He begged them not to tell me anything, said he'd take care of it soon. Jack agreed. They kept their noses out of it. Then came the wedding. Last week. Jack's parents convinced them to invite me. Family would look bad if I was missing. They agreed, just to shut them up. My wife firmly told them they needed to talk to me, make sure I didn't make a scene. My parents agreed, and they believed them. On the day of the wedding, everything seemed smooth. Ceremony went well, moved to the reception. My wife's parents gave a beautiful speech. Her dad teared up, saying his baby girl had grown up. Jack's dad also gave a speech, thanked my wife for bringing the family closer. She teared up hearing that. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught me trying to grab the microphone from her father-in-law. Others might think it was innocent, but she knew me well enough not to take chances. She'd already tipped off her bridesmaids to tell the DJ to cut the mic if I ever tried to take control. When I tried to speak into the microphone, I quickly realized my voice wasn't carrying. I glanced around. Jack and my wife acted like they had no idea. Later, when my wife's maid of honor, Mara, took the mic from me, and the DJ turned it on, I must have realized they deliberately cut me off. I started to scream in the middle of Mara's speech, about how dare they not let me speak, how I had an important announcement. I tried to grab the mic from Mara, who refused to give it to me. Then, to everyone's horror, I angrily got up onto my chair and started to speak loudly about how I'd known all along how jealous my wife was of me, how she was such a bridezilla for not letting me speak at her wedding. People watched in confusion and shock. I continued, announcing that I was pregnant, and I wanted to reveal this today, since I felt this was the perfect time with all my loved ones gathered around. I smiled, looked around, hoping for congratulations. Everyone just looked awkward. Jack's parents looked pissed, whispered to me not to embarrass them further, that I needed to sit back down. This just made me go red with embarrassment. I glanced at my wife and started to yell if she was happy for doing this to her own husband's family, and that this is why I never wanted her brother to marry a loose woman like her. Jack, who had tried to remain calm for his wife's sake, got up from his chair. He looked like he was going to give me the thrashing of my life. But before we could react, Isaac, sitting beside me, took the mic from Mara. He apologized to Jack and my wife for my behavior, then congratulated them on their wedding. Then he turned to me and told me he never wanted to do this publicly, but I needed to be taught a lesson. I looked at him confusedly. Isaac went on to say how it was true that I was indeed pregnant, but that he was not the father of the child. The crowd gasped. My wife couldn't help but cringe, knowing where this was heading. My expression turned sour. Isaac turned to me and announced, "Let's first figure out who the father of your child is, then worry about the announcement," and smirked at me. Jack's parents, who were silent, asked what he meant. This is when he showed them pictures from his phone, how I'd been cheating on him for the past 2 months with another guy. Thankfully, Isaac never once threw Jack and my wife under the bus. He simply continued to say how he'd become suspicious about my behavior and had hired a PI who had clicked all these pictures. Jack's parents glanced through the pictures in disgust and horror while the guests continued to whisper. I sat speechless, perhaps trying to comprehend the fact that I could not hide the truth anymore. Jack seized the opportunity. He asked me to get out of their wedding, stating that he was embarrassed by being related to a woman like me. I burst out crying, holding up my fists, and left. After this debacle, they tried to save the rest of the wedding, but everyone was too riled up about what I'd done to Isaac and them. All anyone could talk about was my affair and my pregnancy. It was embarrassing for them and for Jack's parents. Since then, my wife has been getting emails from random addresses, clearly from me, threatening her. Saying I want to finish her because, apparently, this is all her fault, and she should have just let me announce my pregnancy so I wouldn't have been publicly humiliated. She's shown these messages to Jack. He believes they've done nothing wrong, that this was all my own doing. He might be biased, but honestly, I agree with him. I mean, what did I expect? To just drop a bomb like that at someone else's wedding and have everyone applaud? My wife asked me if she was too harsh for not letting me announce my pregnancy. Seriously? My answer was clear, no. She was not. I was an a-hole. This whole thing blew up. Hundreds of comments on her posts, calling me an asshole. People are really siding with her, which, frankly, doesn't surprise me. Isaac has informed them he will be getting a divorce. My wife will be forwarding all my email screenshots to Isaac. They'll definitely come in handy for his court proceedings. They haven't talked with Jack's parents yet because they're still on their honeymoon, and it's a heavy topic. They plan on meeting them face to face. My wife's parents and relatives were just as shocked, continued to check up on her every day. My wife realized she had hoped for so long that we would become at least cordial, that she'd forgotten to notice just how manipulative and narcissistic I truly am. Only now, with her family pointing it out and assuring her they have her back, does she feel confident enough to cut me out of their lives, even if Jack's parents resist. So, they got a chance to talk with Jack's parents. They're back from their honeymoon. My parents are extremely embarrassed, to say the least. They've informed them that they've cut me off. Completely unexpected for my wife and Jack. My parents told them I wanted to move back in with them since Isaac kicked me out, but they refused to even let me in. In the end, I had to go and stay with one of my friends. Jack informed his parents that what I had done at their wedding was unforgivable, and moving forward, they wanted no contact with me whatsoever. If they ever changed their minds and wanted them to include me again, then they would also cut them off if they had to. My mother started to cry, talking about how painful all of this was, and that she never expected me to do something like this. My wife doesn't know how true they will remain to their word, but she's glad that Jack is a no-nonsense person, unlike her. So she knows he will never allow me back into their lives. She's glad they are done with me completely. It's been 8 months since that last update. Isaac finally divorced me. Isaac informed Jack and my wife that I did admit to everything towards the end. I confessed I'd been seeing this guy on the side, and it was purely physical. But then I got pregnant. I never wanted any relationship with him, so I had hoped I could get away with it. Since I was at fault for having an affair and we didn't have any children, I wouldn't be getting any alimony from him. I begged Isaac to let me keep one of his cars at least, as a keepsake. He refused. Then I started to cry about how I had no one to depend on during my pregnancy since the father of the child had abandoned me also. But Isaac let me know that it was none of his business anymore. Jack and my wife continue to remain in touch with Isaac despite his divorce. Jack and he have grown closer in the past few months. They sometimes meet during the weekend to play video games. My parents haven't talked to me, so I guess I truly am alone. For my child's sake, I hope I make the right decisions moving forward. But knowing me, I'm not holding my breath.